Hello, this is Debbie Kay with the League of Women Voters of Portland, and you are watching Video Voters Guide or listening to our podcast. We're here today talking with candidates running in the May 19th, 2026 primary election. The League of Women Voters is grateful for the support of the Carol and Velma Sailing Foundation, the Weiss Foundation, the Sarah Fruing Fund, members of the League of Women Voters of Portland, and our media partner, Metro East Community Media. With me today is Jo Perini-Abbott, running for Multnomah County Circuit Court Judge in the 4th District, Position 5. Welcome.
Thank you.
Please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you are running for this office.
Sure. I'm running for Position 5 because right now is, I think, the most important time in our country's history that we have strong judges on the bench who have experience and who are ready day one to uphold the rule of law fairly, ethically, and competently. I've been really lucky in my career to practice both civil and criminal law deeply and extensively throughout my whole 17 years. And that's a unique set of skills that I bring to the bench for a position that requires you to bounce between civil and criminal law on a daily or weekly basis.
Thank you. What, if any, criminal sentencing reforms would you support?
Sure. So as a judge and a judicial candidate, I have to say that, I can't comment on cases that would come before me, and I would uphold the law as the legislature has written it, as is the requirement of a judge. But having a career of representing criminal defendants in court, telling my client stories, making sure that the court sees them as a whole person and not just the worst thing they've ever done in their life. I think as a judge, it's important that we ensure that judges have the discretion when they're making sentencing decisions to treat the individuals before them and consider the comments from the victims and how the crime impacted the victim's life, to consider the full circumstances of what happened. And I do think there are times that mandatory minimum sentences or other sort of strict non-discretionary guidelines can conflict with that. And I hope that Oregon continues to be a state that allows judges discretion in sentencing to ensure that they're sentencing the whole situation and the whole person in front of them.
Thank you. Do you have a preference in assignment within the court if elected? And what would that be and why?
So because I'm running for a general bench seat, I would handle civil and criminal matters, which I really like. That's how I've built my career. I will say I do love the idea of a complex civil case where I get to dig in with binders of information and reading the case law, but I'm also excited for the high-speed criminal docket. I think the variety that comes with the general bench is really appealing to me.
Thank you. You're listening to the Video Voters Guide interview and podcast of Jo Perini-Abbott, running for Multnomah County Circuit Court Judge in the 4th District, Position 5. Please tell us what, if any, role can a circuit court judge play in the treatment of immigrants in our community?
Certainly. So as a state court, circuit court judge, we're not immigration judges. We don't make those bigger decisions on immigration status, but we can play a huge role in how immigrants are treated within the state court system, because immigrants are our neighbors and they have every right to the open courts that we have and the access to justice that we all enjoy within Oregon. And so it's really important to ensure that victims feel safe coming forward, regardless of their documentation status. It's really important that someone who has been injured can bring a case forward. And so it's important that as a circuit court judge, we make sure that the state courts remain a safe place for people to show up regardless of immigration status and know that they will be protected and considered just as any of our other neighbors and community members will be.
What effect, if any, might the philosophy of restorative justice play in your performance as a judge?
Certainly. I think there's a lot of room for the idea of restorative justice in circuit court work. What I find really appealing about restorative justice is it really lets the courts consider the victim's perspective and what the victim wants in a more holistic way. Sometimes the criminal justice system is just focused on punishment of the criminal defendant, whereas a restorative justice model can ensure that what everyone's getting out of the situation is some level of closure and healing, which is actually really hard to do in a traditional model. So if the victim has a position as to what would make them feel whole or safe again, restorative justice is really the model that can give that closure and give that accountability to the defendant to make things right in a more meaningful way than sometimes just a prison sentence can.
You. What, if any, changes in the Oregon jury system do you think should be considered?
Certainly. So let me say from the beginning, I am such a hardcore believer in the jury system. I was actually just talking with the parent of one of my son's friends who served on a jury recently in a police shooting case, and he talked about what it was like to be in the jury room. And he said we sat around there and looked at each other and said, "This is democracy, right? This is truly democracy in action." And I can't agree with that more. The fact that we take our hardest decisions and we put them in the hands of 12 citizens to figure out what's right in the situation is really the stalwart of democracy. It's really the most tangible democracy you can get. So I believe so strongly in the jury system. And so the only changes I would really advocate for are making it more accessible. How do we really ensure a jury of one's peers, right? How do we ensure that serving on a jury is accessible to people who have childcare duties or work duties that they can't get out of as easily? Sometimes juries get made up in a way that it's people who have certain luxuries at work to take time off or who don't have responsibilities at home. And because jury duty is so important, I really want to strive for making jury duty accessible. So the parties in a case get that value and people get the chance to actually serve the community in what it means to be on a jury.
Thank you. This concludes our video voters guide and podcast interview of the League of Women Voters of Portland with Jo Perini-Abbott, running for Multnomah County Circuit Court Judge in the 4th District, Position 5. Election Day is Tuesday, May 19th. To find additional election resources, including online identification of other candidates and ballot measures on which you may be eligible to vote, please visit the League of Women Voters of Portland's website, lwvpdx.org, and also vote411.org, and then exercise your right to vote. Ballots will be mailed out starting April 30th. For your vote to be eligible to be counted, your ballot must be received by the Multnomah County Elections Division or in one of the designated ballot drop boxes in Multnomah County no later than 8 p.m. on Election Day. We strongly recommend that if you are depositing your ballot with the U.S. Postal Service, you do so no later than Tuesday, May 12th, 1 week ahead of Election Day. Your voice and your vote matter. Thank you very much for your attention.